Okay, at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, August 19th, I will call to order the monthly meeting of the Village Board of Trustees of Sister Bay. Roll call. L here.
Birdo here. Paulson here.
Harp here.
Shampoo here.
Kadanko here.
And do we have
White
liquor?
here.
Yeah, she's right there.
Okay. The agenda, a couple modifications to it here. We're going to pull off 5A, 8B, and 8C. 5A was at trustee Bertle's request, and 8B and C were because the village attorney had said that needs further work on their side. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Motion by Champeau, second by Harf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes for July 15th and 21st. We'll start with the July 15th. Any additions, subtractions, deletions?
Yeah, I think this is the, on page 6, sorry about that, page 6, line 43. Nate's last name is spelled incorrectly. Mr. Beal.
I need to go, if she's done, I need to go to page 3 when everybody else is done.
Doug, do you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay.
Kurt?
On page 3, line 8, I need where it says Harp change to Laurel Harp. And on 16, also change the Laurel Harp because it says trustee, and it was my wife that was speaking.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, let's move on to July 21st minutes. Additions, deletions, subtractions on there? If not, motion to approve the minutes as amended. Be in order.
So moved.
Motion by Berto, second by Champeau. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, comments, concerns, correspondence from the public. We have one email and a backup. Is there anybody out in the public that would like to speak? Nick?
Nicholas Devlin. I'm going to start off by reading a couple paragraphs of Sue Clark's resignation. Third time I think I've come in here and read resignation. My main concern is the future state of the administrative office. With your future departure, I am extremely concerned about losing your leadership, wealth of knowledge to support the office staff. Your contribution, time, expertise, and care extended to the village of Sister Bay and your staff is beyond measure. She's referring to Julie Schmelzer. I feel the current staff will not be able to keep up with the workload and/or have knowledge required to assist residents in a timely manner. I also worry about staff retention, staff morale, and how current staff will be treated after your departure. With that being said, I would like you to know that my decision was not taken lightly. I recognize and am thankful for your time and training, not to mention the finances that are required to hire an employee for this important role. I fully expected to be in this position for the remainder of my career. Janelle Subans thought she was going to retire. Heidi Teich thought she was going to retire. Tasha Raz thought she was going to retire with the village. Julie thought she was going to retire with the village. I keep coming in here. I'm the only one, I think, that comes in and actually says this to the board, but I'm just going to keep saying it. It's really embarrassing. Extremely embarrassing. You're the president, Nate. At some point, you got to figure this out. You can't keep losing employees that keep quitting because you keep putting Julie Schmelzer's name on a list. You're going to use our money, my money, taxpayer money to pay her out, or she's going to retire with the village. If I'm Julie, I quit. I just leave and I sue the village all the way through. I've dealt with Zeke, I dealt with Bo, I dealt with Julie, I dealt with the interims. No offense, Denise, you were great to work with, but as an interim, nothing compares to working with Julie. I'm in the middle of a huge development project for me. What happens, Nate, if she leaves in October and I'm pushing forward a $30 million development, 68 unit, and I have no administrator to work with? What happens? Who do I work with? You guys are gonna just magically find a fourth village administrator in 10 years? If you don't want to answer, that's fine.
Nick, this is not a dialogue here. This is a
Well,
chance for you to put in.
Somebody needs to have the dialogue. They
That is
keep
not,
quitting. They keep quitting.
Nick, I'm not
They
gonna engage
just
with you.
keep quitting.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for
They
your
keep
input.
quitting. So
Okay.
when she's gone, you guys are gonna hire, and what if it takes 6 months or 12 months to find another one? When I talk to village residents, when I talk to other people on other boards, 2 names come back continuously as the problem. Yourself and Luis, over and over again. 2 people. I know how 3 people on the board feel about it, because they spoke up in April and they said how they felt. I don't know how Bridget feels about it, and I don't know how Chad feels about it. But I really hope that one of the 2 new members keeps the vote by way of keeping Julie Schmelzer employed with Village.
Thank you. Nick.
I'm good. Yeah, you're welcome.
Would anybody else like to speak? Anybody else remotely? Okay,
Maybe you had indicated we had that one letter in the
Yes.
email info. We also had some stuff from the library
oh,
and
yeah,
some stuff regarding some events, just to make sure everybody's aware of that, and so the record shows that,
yeah, we've got the recycling event coming up here,
and the trail.
the trail, yeah. There's 4 sessions in Gibraltar. Okay. On to 6A, appoint interim village clerk.
So I looked at the municipal handbook, and it had said that when a clerk was leaving, they would have to appoint a deputy clerk or someone to step in and take their duties. That did not happen, so we should appoint an interim village clerk to sign the documents and issue the liquor licenses and keep business going until we can actually hire someone and get them sworn in.
And you've got yourself and Sarah on there?
Yeah, the options are myself or Sarah. Vlad has declined. And Sarah really didn't have much of a choice. I said, Sarah, it's gotta be either you or me.
So what do everybody think here? I've got some thoughts on it, but
Where's it better for the workload?
It's better if I'm the interim clerk. Believe it or not, in my history, I actually was a clerk for 2 weeks one time.
well,
Okay, go ahead.
no,
And I'm more familiar with the laws and what the clerk does. Sarah is still training, learning her role and learning, beginning to learn a little bit about being a deputy treasurer. So I think from a staff perspective, it flows better if I'm your interim clerk until we get somebody hired and sworn in. But it is the decision of the board.
I guess I think that you've got a lot of things that you're juggling right now, Julian. I don't think adding one more to it is a great idea. I also think that we should get some temporary help. And there are some people out there that we can tap on to have Sarah be the interim, but also look to get her some backup as soon as possible, within a matter of weeks. Because I understand that we want to hire somebody, but the likelihood of us hiring somebody that's got a wealth of experience is not that great. So if nothing else, that temporary person could act as a mentor that has had long-standing experience in being a clerk. My understanding is there's a few retired clerks that aren't terribly far away that could step into that role.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any. They haven't stepped up. You know, we have had Gibraltar has offered to provide notary services for us. So they'll come in once a week and notarize documents for us. And they're willing to answer general questions we have, like about liquor licensing and things of that nature. We have had, I think it was 7 applications come in, one of which we will be conducting an interview with. We just have to schedule the interview. And then, of course, that person would have to accept, we'd have to agree to hire that person. they'd have to accept it, and if they have a current, job right now, they'd have to get notice before they could actually start.
Anyone else?
I would agree that we have options to bring someone in on an interim basis, which is essentially outsourcing. And there are companies that work with municipalities that offer those kinds of services, whether it's clerk or finance or anything else. And I think based on your workload, Julie, and you know, what you're able to do in your main function, then not just moving over to the clerk position, but also continuing to train Sarah with what she has to do, I think that's probably the most reasonable approach.
Sure. And then who would train the clerk on our processes and how to file the documents and stuff?
Well, I think we would work with someone, the person I spoke with, and I did take a look at who is there, knowing that there had to be some sort of an entity that would offer these kinds of services. We would need to find someone that has experience with Wisconsin state statutes, maybe not Door County, but state statutes, which is what would be the most important thing,
Right,
correct?
they'd have to be familiar with village law.
Right, and village as well, yeah. So, yes, you're right, they need some input from you. I think that's what you're alluding to.
Right, because,
Right.
for example, if an ordinance passes tonight, somebody has to file it, post it, scan it, put it into the code. They'd have to be familiar with all that, how you do that, how that happens.
Filing and scanning?
Yeah, so when a board passes an ordinance, it has to be what they call filed and posted.
Uh-huh.
And then it has to be added into our municipal code. And then those ordinances and resolutions, part of the clerk's job is to actually enter them and log them. So there's a special place that they get entered into, and then of course the municipal code gets adopted, or I'm sorry, updated, and then reposted online. So you need somebody who's familiar with how to do all of that.
Okay. All right, so a couple of the questions. Carla, any interest or any experience?
As being a village clerk? No.
Yeah. I mean, with the resumes we've gotten so far, none of them have clerk experience. So there's not anybody that I think we would be interested in.
Right, and
talking to.
we, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think we ever had a clerk that had clerk experience.
Okay. So again, it's unique. You're right, you need somebody that has that time, and I'm assuming from what you're saying that every village or town has a unique process in terms of posting, and I don't know, maybe they do.
They have their, yeah, so the laws for a clerk are different for city, village, town has different needs as well.
Uh-huh.
And then there's, you have to record, file, put in the book of ordinances, et cetera. There's certain
Right.
statutory things on that. But you have to know how to do that, and every community is going to do that differently.
Okay.
You have to know our system, where does stuff get filed,
Right.
where does it get posted?
Uh-huh.
Where does it get scanned and logged into? So that is something each community is going to be different.
Okay, all right. So Nate, to answer your question, I would still suggest that we have assistance for Julie in doing that, and preferably somebody with clerk experience. Maybe somebody that doesn't know our processes, which sounds like an administrative process, I think, in terms of everybody doing it differently, but understands the state statutes and what we have, compliance and what we have to do in order to be within the statutes. I think that's worth looking at.
So you're saying, who would you say to be, I mean, we need to name somebody's an intern
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm just
somebody
looking
like
at somewhere just a little bit further down the road, understanding we need to
So
get,
if we would want to name somebody tonight, it would be, I don't know, I'd have to defer to Julie on what she thinks, because either way, if you really feel like Sarah is not the person that you think you would prefer it be you, then I think that the board would be smart to defer to you. That's fine. But I do think that we should also work quickly to get you some support, and also at the same time continue a search and look for someone I'm not suggesting we stop that at all. But in the meantime, get somebody that has some knowledge in the fundamentals of being a clerk that may not relate necessarily to Sister Bay and how we process things, but understands fundamentally, because that's really what we're looking for. Because whoever we hire won't know the processes of Sister Bay either.
Right, we have to teach them that.
Right. But if we can find somebody on an interim basis that would, in the meantime, and help you carry, lift something from your load, it makes sense to me.
I would look at that person as being a help in the interim, but then in the long term being a more of a mentor position. And that's kind of the people that are out there from the organizations I've talked to.
Yeah, so that would be my suggestion.
So Julie, you believe that should be, it makes most sense for you to do. It's not that you want to do the role, but you think it makes most organizational sense for you to be the interim clerk.
There is nobody else to do it. Nobody else that's capable of doing it in the village.
Okay,
We have I have liquor licenses. One that came in Friday and somebody has to process it. I mean, we have to keep things moving. We can't stop because we lost an employee.
Well, that's what we're trying to accomplish tonight.
Right.
Mhm.
Keep it moving.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Julie.
Second.
motion by Berto, second by Champeau. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to 7A ordinances. Amend chapter 18 and 50 for garbage.
Okay, this was something that, a citizen spoke about at our last meeting. Planning Commission discussed it when we did the short-term rental ordinance. There was an oversight. We didn't have anyone that had a unit on their own property where they lived. So the garbage rules talked about, properties where the owner was off-site. So this, corrects that oversight. It was recommended unanimously by the Plan Commission. And so we request approval as written.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Berto, second by Huff.
So I have a question, they wouldn't be charged twice, they wouldn't be charged at all, right? Because it's already, it's in there, it's in our taxes. Okay, sure, just want to be sure.
One comment I would like to add to this is those people that have a rental that don't use it, don't make the rental available in the winter. They shouldn't be forced for weekly driving service when the home is not a rental. I think this is great. Clearly it was an oversight and over-regulation, but I think that is as well. When people clearly decide not to make their rental available for 6 months and they pay taxes in this village, they shouldn't be forced to have a driving service when it's not an operational rental. That seems only fair.
Is that language in here?
No, it's not, but if we're gonna address garbage in one of the ways we are reaching sometimes, I think that just makes sense for us to address that as well.
So the board did discuss that. Clearly, I can't remember when, Chad, but it must have been before
Well,
you were on the board, but I mean, and you can always revisit it. But we did discuss it, it may be familiar because we did discuss that within the last year. And after talking with Wayne Garbage, the issues it caused by starting and stopping service, the board at that time had agreed that the language should read that they have to pay for the service, whether it's being rented on a full-time basis or not. But we can certainly revisit.
Yeah, and I believe you discussed it, and I'm not saying that anything was done in malicious ways, but it's definitely something that's been brought to my attention that just doesn't make sense. And I get it, not 1 month on, 1 month off. If somebody's gonna commit to being available for 6 months and then not be available for 6 months, that's just common sense that they shouldn't be charged for that. And we shouldn't have going garbage calling the village to tattle on them. Like, it just seems like the business is making a decision for the village. It's something I would love plan to look at, since you guys obviously looked and changed this within a month, which is pretty great. So maybe that's another thing you guys can look at.
Well, it doesn't say 12 months. It says that the resident agent or operator shall contract for refuse and site recycling collection and disposal services that are tailored to the property. Wouldn't tailored to the property include being open for only renting for 6 months?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
There's another section of that. You don't have the entire code in
Okay.
front of you.
All right, I just didn't, because I didn't see 12 months in there. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to 8E, Operation Agreement Friends of the Ice Rink.
What do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry, 8A. Yep.
So the certified survey map that's for you is to create a 3-lot certified survey. You do have the staff report in there as long as the resolution, which authorizes the creation of the certified survey map and then the proposed certified survey map. If there's any questions, I can answer them. The owner is here, as is the surveyor.
So moved.
Motion by Bertle,
Second.
second by Chantal. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. One moment.
Thank you very much, everybody. Super easy and painless. For sure. Have a great night.
Okay, now on to 8D.
Okay, this is something we have worked on for quite a while. As you know, we have a lease with the Friends of the Ice Rink. This is the actual operational agreement, which talks about how it will be operated, what the village's obligations are, and what the Friends of the Ice Rink's obligations are. This, they go to Parks Committee and it has been recommended by the Parks Committee for approval.
So I have one question, because the term is commencing essentially when it's signed. Am I correct?
Right, it's, well, actually, it is, right, the date of the signature.
Okay, and I don't, and Ellie, you're here, I don't know, I don't think Miles is on, is it?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, thank you. So we talked before.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. So, I mean, do we care if it's signed now, or if it's, maybe another 5 or 6 months as they get closer when they can actually start the work? Does that make a difference?
No.
Okay, all right. Because that was something that Miles had mentioned to me, and, because, they're doing quite well, they'll be fine, and the funds are coming along, but it just seems to make sense that maybe we wait until February, March or so of next year for them to sign it, but, I just wanted to make sure that didn't create any kind of a stamp with the agreement.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they signed the lease already or not.
Ellie, did
I know
you
we
guys
were
sign the
trying
lease?
to.
No, not yet. I think, from my understanding, is we wanted to wait until this was approved as well too. And I think, with the operation agreement, we were kind of hoping, or we thought, at least for us, that at least while we're still fundraising, to hopefully kind of make sure that our efforts are towards that fundraising process, and then take over the operation standpoint, kind of when that construction is ready. And then when we can actually operate kind of with the whole new, ice rink system.
I don't have the lease in front of me, but I believe the lease says the village has to sign an operation agreement by September 1st. And now you haven't signed the lease agreement, so I guess technically you could start over if you want. My understanding when all of this started is,
I thought we took that out, like why was it signing it by September 1st?
my understanding was the Friends wanted to make sure we had the operation agreement and they could proceed, because originally they had wanted to start building the new ice rink in May. And so we were trying to get things moving, and it just took longer than expected to get them approved. But the lease had September 1st, that we had to sign this by September 1st. My understanding.
I can pull it up. Hold on.
And I think like we're fine signing it, I think we just wanna make sure it's clear on like or that we're not necessarily taking over like the ice rink operations with the current ice rink.
No, it's
So
very,
I think that's maybe where it's a little,
no, it's very clear it's for the reconstructed ice rink.
Patrice?
Yeah, so, hopefully this is not a popular position, but I, in all good conscience, have to talk about this. This is a lot of money for the village, a village that's so concerned about spending money and not raising taxes, and we're trying to put the brakes on spending and everything. $50,000 a year in 20 years is $1 million. And we are giving them $500,000, $500,000 to get this thing started, which is fine, except for these operational costs are, I don't think it's fair to the average resident in the village to have to pay for this, because honestly, the amount of people that are using the ice rink for the short amount of time in the wintertime, I don't see the money value there for these residents, for the people paying their taxes. $1 million, 20 years. Now, in my mind, it's like the historical society, they pay their own way. The village gives them, what, $10,000 or $20,000 a year as a donation to keep things going there, which is fine. I can see it giving them some support that way, but we're already giving $500,000. And now we're supposed to be paying $50,000 every year for operational expenses. I just think that the Friends of the Ice Rink group, they should take on that. It's serving all the way from probably Fish Creek to Gills Rock. And they should all be helping pay for this, not just the residents of Sister Bay.
The Parks Committee did discuss last year the possibility of a park and rec district for Northern Door, and they would pay for it. Nothing really happened on that yet, but that could be one way to pay for things in the future. It's not in place right now, and I don't know if it's possible.
Yes, thanks.
I understand your point, Patrice. But there are, I think I've used this argument in the past when we've talked about other things. Our library budget probably is close to that. I don't use the library. I never go to the library. I haven't been to the library since my nieces, probably were 12 or 13 years old. I went there a lot when they were younger. My taxes pay for that. My taxes pay for the beach. I never go to the beach. I work all the time. So it's about and I don't complain about it. I'm using it as a point. There's a lot of amenities. There's a lot of things in our village that benefit the community as a whole. And that I think should be our focus. We are building community. We had quite a few people over the last couple of years come to our parks meeting and tell us now that things were getting really serious, we are so excited. I grew up at, the crappy ice rink, and it gave me a place to go and everything. And our population has shifted. And as we know through the census, there's many more families with young children. And it's a sense of community. And yet in 20 years, it's $1 million. It's $52,000 a year.
But why shouldn't the Friends of the Ice Rink pay for that operational expenses? Why does the village
Maybe
have
at some
to?
point in time they will.
Or the Parks Group or
But-
whatever. But I'm just saying, on the table right now is the operational agreement, and this is the time to talk about it. It's a lot of money.
Well said, Denise, and just a little history, back when these decisions were being made, which wasn't that long ago, we were the oldest village in Sister Bay, and we recognized we needed to do things for younger people. And we committed to that, and we have changed our demographic because of that here. Some people may not like that, but I think most of us want to see young kids run around town. There's a lot more of them. And these are the kind of things that we made decisions to do to keep attract young families, keep young families here. So a lot of these people have been working on this for a while. Their families were young, and they're not young anymore, and they're still involved. So I get it. It costs money, but
I love
it's
kids
a
too. I love
concerted
ice cream.
effort for us to not be the oldest community, and we were a struggling community, and now we're the leader. It's pretty cool.
So I think it's also worth noting that we have been contributing roughly that much money to the ice rink operations before this. This is not an increase. This is a continuation of that, more or less. So, and Ellie, I saw you raised your
Okay,
hand.
I just wanted to mention that as well too. One of the reasons that number came up was because that's what has been budgeted in the past. And our group is well aware that, there's a couple of unknown, or we've done a lot of research on how much kind of like the electricity, the refrigeration system is gonna cost. There is a potential that those costs will exceed that $52,000. And that's where we're gonna be continuing to fundraise to help kind of make up those differences. And I know, I'm very passionate about this project, kind of twofold. One, as a mother with young children, I'm so excited to have something to do in the winter. It's hard when you have a 3-year-old running around your house and nothing to do. So, it's the last day of the ice rink, if any of you made it out for the kind of last hurrah party. It was phenomenal to see. I mean, there was probably 300 people out there skating, families, multi-generations with, grandparents, grandkids. It was a sight to see. It was great. Twofold, I'm also passionate about it because of my position with the SBAA. What it can do just the entire area in the off season is great. We can see a potential increase in even just like the room tax dollars that we're going to be able to potentially collect, that will help help the budget. If people have something to do in the winter, something that's reliable, they don't have to wonder if the ice rink's going to be open. So we can we will see more heads in beds. We haven't had reliable ice for New Year's Eve in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. So that's, there's just so much opportunities to just kind of on both sides of things. It's going to be great for our businesses that are open in the winter as well too. But I know that there's a lot of people very excited about this project, and a lot of young families. It's been the buzz of the daycare center for a while for all the local people. They're excited about it. We really appreciate the partnership and the work that a lot of you members have done to help us kind of get this going.
Denise?
I was just gonna follow up on one other thought. There's, whether it's a valid statement or argument, I guess I'll leave that up to any individual to make for themselves. But what we have also heard from the locals throughout the last couple of years is that they feel that a lot of the things that not just Sister Bay, but other communities do is so much for the tourist. I mean, granted, we built an awesome multi-million-dollar beach for everyone to enjoy. A lot of locals say it's too crowded, I don't go. But it's there for everyone. So they really, because this is a winter activity, they really feel that it's like they're doing something for us.
Can I add to something?
Bridget.
I love the comments, and just to add to that, during the winter time, to be able to them to recreate the ice area so that it's frozen more often. Every single time it was frozen this last season, every single neighborhood kid I know was up there with my kids and having a ball. It's just such an awesome place to go. And to be able to extend that season for much longer and have a place for all the neighborhood kids to go, I think is a very, very neat thing, and I totally support it. And just to bring up a point, I know that the other villages probably aren't necessarily helping financially, but just know that behind the scenes, there are parents from other villages who are out fundraising this for right now. Like I know one in particular who is working her butt off trying to get money to help make this project happen and rebuild the warming hut, and they are calling every connection they know. So just because the village itself isn't contributing financially, like Egg Harbor or Gibraltar or Bailey's Harbor, doesn't mean that their families aren't working toward this effort also. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Okay, further discussion?
I have one.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking a little bit about your comment, Ellie. Tonight is the first I've ever heard that you wanted a delay on the contract. I know when I talked with Miles, we were emailing, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe nothing was brought up. Are you saying that you don't think it'll get going this winter at all?
Well, we would have to wait till after this winter for construction.
Okay, because that does impact us, because our budget right now, we just did a draft budget. We haven't finalized it yet, but it was based on the fact that this agreement is in place. So our budget is for $50,000 and then $2,000 for concessions, as the agreement talks about. If we're not going to do the agreement, then we're probably we have to relook at that, because we don't know what it's going to cost. We're going to have to go back and look at the old numbers and say, what did it cost to operate the ice rink? And then we may have to up those numbers.
Well, as far as I understood, though, like that 52, was like a cap or.
It was like
I don't feel like, at least in the last several years, you guys haven't, I don't think have been, that's what's been budgeted. Was my understanding, but no, if we were gonna have a new, we would have had to start construction already if we were gonna have a new, rink by this season. So because the whole process was taking kind of so long or whatnot, we weren't able. And then also and fundraising, because we got, with working with the community foundation, they have a very structured way of how to do things, so we weren't able to start that as fast as we thought we were going to. But we're doing very well right now, so it's definitely not gonna be a problem to have the new rink by next season.
I think what we should do then is just amend this to say this is effective April 1st or something
Yeah.
to that effect.
And we'd have to be real happy to sign anything.
And I'm gonna have to go back and look at, see what impact that has on the lease, because we may have to bring the lease back next month then and change that.
And I don't think that changes anything. I mean, I think last year the rink was open for 4 days. So, probably not, wasn't a great expense. So whatever whatever we budget this year, we'll see, because I was under the impression there's no way they were gonna get construction this year. I mean, they would need to be under construction right now. So that I understood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We were not gonna be on ice with coils this fall or this winter. No way.
Yeah,
So
that
maybe-
was never relayed. I know that was never discussed at the committee level
Okay.
or with staff, because
Did you
originally,
think
like I said,
gonna
they were.
do construction this
Originally.
Originally, but.
They would have to order.
No, but it
I
just,
mean,
I presumed from what I was hearing that wasn't gonna happen, but I don't think it was ever explicitly said out loud. You know, as a statement, things took longer, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
it's not happening. I just don't think it was worded in that way, but I think most of us understood.
yeah, with the length of time it takes, Julie know how long things take. So I'm glad I brought it up, and I'm glad that, I mean, I think it's fine if we can change it, but I don't think it would affect the budget. I can't see how that would affect the budget.
Well, we would probably have
have to look at it.
unexpended funds depending
Right.
upon what,
We would, for sure.
what winter,
Yeah.
if we have a winter
what it-
looks
yeah.
like this year.
Right, and if it's, it was
But it's
usually
certainly
50.
something that we in finance should take a look at.
Yeah, for sure.
So then it would be, what you're suggesting is amending the start date to April 1st. Is that what I heard?
That's,
I think that would, that would work for us.
so that'll come back to us then, right?
No, not if you're amending it to say April 1st, we'll just make that amendment to the contract.
Okay. You're good with that?
The other document will have to come
Okay.
back next
It's a
month.
lease, okay.
If the lease is impacted by that, we'll definitely bring that
Okay.
back.
Okay,
So moved.
Motion by Berta,
second.
second by Allison. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No,
Can I just add one thing? When I hear Bridget talk about an outside person from Fish Creek, I'd love to hear this committee having people from all the villages which are gonna be using it, have a person connected that really helps bring the other communities in to the project. And when I was out at the ice rink last year, you said 4 days, man, I was out there a lot of nights talking with the guys, doing the water and everything
I
else.
know,
Just out of curiosity, I wanted to see what was going on. And it's like, I saw people skating there a lot of different nights. It seemed like it was more than 4 to me.
yeah, well, they have to flood, then it melts, and then they flood. You know, so.
And when I talked to different ones, it's like, many of them were from Liberty Grove and all around the place, and they love it. But they should help in the costs.
Kurt, if you can figure out how to get these municipalities together, you will get a Nobel Peace
I
Prize.
got it, right.
No, I'm not talking
We've
about,
discussed this, like, I agree with you.
no, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about somebody
Doesn't
like
really work that
Bridget,
way.
who's a friend, not
So,
the villages
Ellie,
themselves.
let's let Ellie speak.
Yeah, I will say that we have had some of these discussions as like the Friends of the Ice Rink
Yeah.
group. And there has been some discussion of the Friends of the Ice Rink, trying to get on to like Liberty Grove, or one of their village board meetings to see if there's anything that we can, or any, any contribution that they can also kind of, put in as well. We've also had some discussions too, because again, I am a, a Sister Bay resident as well, and so there has been some, how do we kind of maybe make some perks for the Sister Bay residents, whether is it, if you show your ID with the Sister Bay zip code, you get the free skate rental. So we've been trying to kind of also to kind of see where maybe some perks for our residents can come through and where we can maybe involve some of the other municipalities as well. So we're brainstorming.
Okay, all right, let's move
It's
on
definitely on our minds too.
to 8E, the operating agreement for the SBAA.
Okay, so this is our annual operating agreement. This was recommended for approval by Parks. The dates have changed. The only other change was that instead of having brick party, I think it was brick party 1 year, kite day, the next year it says it's just gonna be either brick party or kite day. Other than that, everything is pretty much the same. There were no material changes from last year.
So moved.
Motion by Bertle, second by Houseman. I think you wanted to say something, Ellie?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, design contract for the marina office.
I'm not sure if David is online, but this came out of the Marina Committee. So they are looking to enter an agreement. It's only $9,500. Shouldn't say only, but it's $9,500 because it's under 25,000 and to not have to go for bid. And what this is to do like some preliminary design work on the new marina office building.
Before we jump into that, Vlad, could you please take a note, because I know that we have talked about it in the past, but somehow it has never worked its way into the village's CIP, that we need to fund these bathrooms. So finance needs to figure out where, how much money, when, etc.
So at the Marina meeting, they did ask that the Parks Committee look at this coming month. So it's tentatively on their agenda. We do have to talk at finance as well, you're right, but to talk to the Parks Committee to see what they want to do about those restrooms, to make sure they're on board. Because the Marina Committee does feel that the Parks Committee should be paying towards those bathrooms.
I don't disagree.
The public ones? Yeah.
That's-
So we've talked about that.
Wait,
The ones that are there.
So Parks Committee will talk about that, we've talked about them.
But because we're in
contributing-
the middle of budget,
Right, it's nowhere to sit.
and I
We
just
don't-
finalized the CIP last night. Now
We
we're
don't-
gonna have to
we-
tweak it.
Yeah, we don't know what the cost would be yet at this point, because we don't have a design, we don't have a cost. But it is something that does have to go to the various committees.
Well, we know what
Sports.
bathrooms would cost at the sports complex, so that's given us a pretty good number.
Right,
And we're
we
talking
did
about
bring the
having
cost
showers there
up.
too. So what, I think we'll be able to zero in a decent number.
Yeah.
Further discussion about the schematic design contract?
Oh, Julie, would there be grants available for those public restrooms?
If we wait a year. So I believe that what's there now, it was on a grant, and you have to maintain that for 10 years before you can change it or apply again. And I believe I don't know if Dave's on the line, but I think we're in the last year of that. So then next year we'd be eligible to try and get funding for that again.
Yeah, so beginning of 2026, the grant will have expired and we should be able to resubmit for a DNR grant to help fund those.
Oh, so next year, so.
So Bridget, the grant that we submitted, we didn't get it, but how much did we submit for?
What do you mean, for the bathrooms that are currently there at the marina?
I'm sorry, did we have a grant that we submitted that's going to expire? I'm sorry, I didn't.
There's a grant that's been there for the last 10 years that helped fund those original bathrooms, the ones that are right next to the marina building, like the little public ones. The grant expires at the end of 2025. And so starting in 2026, you can apply for a new one.
So we never used it, okay.
No, we
No,
did
you
use it.
can't. You just can't use it you can't build bathrooms every 8 years, you can build them every 10 years. Or you can try to get grant money to build them, but a 10-year expiration.
How much?
So that also means that when we redo these bathrooms, we won't have the encumbrance of the grant requirements on that. Because the grant requirements will expire at that
They'll
time
have
too.
expired. Yeah.
That's a good thing, okay.
Do you want to make a motion? I will make a motion that we approve the design contract for the Marina office
For $9,500.
for $9,500. Motion by Bell, second by Kadanko.
Just discuss it, what
Sure.
comment before we vote? Just for those of you, you know, on the Marina Committee, just share my 2 cents. They're going to come up with a couple of different sets of drawings. One is for new construction, and one is for remodeling. I beg you, please do not try to remodel that
I don't,
building.
I think.
We're not gonna remodel it. That was already overruled.
Yeah, we already,
Thank you.
shot that
Yeah,
down.
with the
Because that's what
existing
happened
utilities, it was,
last time. And
yeah,
we
with the existing
remodeled it.
utilities, it wasn't gonna be a good idea. There would have been so much to jump around and work around, so we're take it down to the foundation, put in a better foundation, include the existing utilities, because they're underground, and build a new building completely.
Okay, because on page 58, under schematic design phase, it does say both new construction and remodeling in the contract.
They offered us a remodeling design and we almost instantly rejected it.
Yeah, this is dated in the 18th of July. I think, was that at the July Marina Committee meeting that was discussed?
Yes.
Okay. I must have missed that in the minutes, then. I apologize.
No, you're fine. It was,
I do.
I think talked about.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, liquor license for Zaza's Pizzeria and Deli.
Okay, they're looking for a Class A beer and Class A liquor license. This application actually came in while Sue was still here, so Sue did receive it. And then I did the research on it, CCAP and the other information that you see. So we're looking to see if I get approved.
Has the fire inspection been completed? It said it's been requested in the packet,
I do not know if that's been completed yet.
but until it is,
Right.
it will not be issued. On page, this might be in the minutia, 62, line for box 19, premises description. Carry out pizzeria with all merchandise, including beer and wine sales in the front customer area. I don't know what that means.
Would that mean?
Because, I mean, front customer area, it sounds like it could be in front of the building where their real estate office is.
It sounds like the takeout area where they pick up their pizza.
Yeah, that's how I interpret that as well. It's, when you look at the pizzeria layout, there's a front area where the customers can go and that's where the sales are restricted.
Okay, so it's just referencing
The pizzeria.
the plan that we don't have.
They did not include a plan. They did not have to include a plan if I remember right. But
Everybody has to include a plan and show the premises where it's.
actually, when I looked in the manual, that was actually optional, was the plan for these types of liquor licenses. So,
Oh, okay.
So moved.
Motion by Allison,
Second.
second by Kadanko. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, 8H, monthly financial report appropriation.
last
What is on page 72? League chief executives, league payment.
I went to a conference done with the League of Municipalities. I paid for it, they reimbursed me.
That actually was Julie's payment.
I was signed up to go, and that's the day of the event was the day Sue resigned, so I did not go. And they only gave us a partial refund.
Did it, Denise, or?
No. Waltz, page 79. Waltz Petroleum Service. Rotary 12K wide lift, W-EH2, and a change order for #1 rotary. Can somebody tell me
I
what
believe
that is?
that's the lift for the parks maintenance building, new parks maintenance building. Is that correct, Vlad? I think that's the lift for the new building,
Remember when Eric received the change order,
right?
so they had to kind of fix it up in order to install that, and that's what. I think they
The
did it for-
in-ground lift.
It actually ended up, it's not actually in ground. I think the committee, if I remember right, went with an above ground, but it's a permanent one, so it comes in, it's above ground and it has to be mounted in the concrete though. And the lift company had assumed there was a slant to the floor and it's actually a flat floor. So they actually had to do a change order on it, so they were able to affix it to the concrete on the shop floor.
So that these are two charges on the same invoice. So the actual equipment was $13,099, and then there was a change order to add something to it in order for it to function.
That's the public works.
Okay, yeah. Is that it? I had a question. Well, I have one question.
Sure.
It's kind of weird, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Second, I gotta go scroll back up. Here it is. So Vlad, we have two invoices from,
What page?
I'm sorry, I'm on page 74, and it's Frontier. And it's two charges, both the same invoice number, plant phone, both for the same amount, and both the same date. So did we pay? It's
One's water, one's wastewater.
Is that what it is? So we get two separate, it's all one invoice number, but that's why I wondered, that's all. And it's identical.
It's separated between the water and the wastewater account.
To the all the way to the right.
Yep.
Where is GL? So
Mhm.
610.
Okay, so their invoice number is the same, but you split it up.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Okay. Okay, I understand. And then I had one other one. And then on page, 77, Midwest Meter Inc. I just didn't know what a 3/4 meter connection 60 EA was.
Why wouldn't you know what that is?
I don't know, there's very few things, Chad, but this is one of them.
77.
Page 77, right? And it's account number 1000691. It's Midwest Meter.
I see. Megan, are you still there?
Is it like a new meter or something so it's wastewater?
Yeah, it's the meters for water reading for billing.
Okay.
That specific line, I believe it was the meter ends, the connections, some gaskets, just various meter parts.
Right, so those we pay whenever we need to. Okay.
And those are part of the ones we're doing the annual, like we swap them out, what, a third of them or whatever percentage of them every year, that's part of that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of our meter exchange program. Yep.
Yeah, and last but not least, on page 79, that payment to Alliance is the final payment for Public Works or for the building?
I think there's still gonna be one.
Okay.
At least one.
It's just payment 10, okay. I just didn't know if it was the final one. That's it, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll make a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $813,741.90. Motion by Val,
Second?
second by Champeau. Further discussion, questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, staff reports.
We have Eric's report in here. We do have Megan's, if there's any questions on those. And then, Mine was just very basic to just give you some updates. Triangle Road project is starting and we're planning an open house for the Parks Maintenance Facility.
But I actually have a big question about that, which is the village administration building. So when do we talk about that or see? That'll be going to Parks in September to take a look at what they're gonna show.
Well, the Parks Committee on the Parks building or the admin building?
I meant, no, village administration building, the Triangle Road project as it relates to the current.
Sure.
admin
So,
building.
we had, at the last Parks meeting, we had said that, Robert E. Lee was finalizing the design. It would be ready by the end of August. They would bring it to the Parks Committee
Yeah.
meeting in September.
Uh-huh.
And then we would have a public informational meeting later that week
Okay,
in September.
okay. When then, you've seen the, I guess have you seen the design or you just? this is
I saw a
conversation?
preliminary one
Okay.
where she had a bunch of questions. So we had went through that and she's revising it and bringing it into the committee to show it to the committee along with options. Would you like to do this? Would you like to do that?
So there are, because I thought we talked about options possibly instead of, because there was a long discussion about what do we want, what don't we want? And I think Denise, you were the one that said, why don't we have her let us know what she thinks might be the best course of action.
Right, my opinion was I didn't care what happened with the property or the structure.
Right.
That we needed to build whatever it was in the safest way possible to
Agreed.
clean up that intersection.
Okay.
And how that impacted that parcel and that building, I didn't care.
Okay, so I'm confused. You're just talking about the Triangle project and the
Yeah.
impact on the current administration.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Right, yes.
It's
so-
in, yeah, your
Correct,
report.
so the committee said, the engineer needs to do what is safest for transportation purposes, and if
Yeah.
that means the building comes down, then the building will have to come down.
Okay.
So with that in mind, she did design it with safety in mind.
Uh-huh.
The options that I was talking about is the rest of the Triangle project, you
Okay.
know, sidewalk on this side or that side, how wide is the road here, is this one way or two way? Those are all options that she bring to the committee in September.
Okay, so can I finish my
Sure.
questions? So when she comes, just I'm trying to anticipate what we're gonna see. So there'll be essentially one plan, right? That may or may not be able to be, and this is based on having it to be the safest possible.
Right, so there's one plan and then there's pieces where there'll be different options. I'll give you an example, like Chad, you
Give
know,
me a
does the
piece.
sidewalk go on Chad's side of the street or does it go on the other side?
Right.
You know, that's stuff the committee has to decide.
Yeah, we talked about sidewalks, got it, okay.
Um,
So is it your impression that the different options we're gonna see, no matter what, that building comes down?
I believe she showed, yeah, the plan that I saw, there were no options on that. She felt to straighten out that intersection where Bluff comes down and intersects Maple.
Yeah.
The building had to come down. And then because she wanted to design it so a fire truck could make that turn, because right now a fire truck cannot make that turn.
If it's coming down that hill?
Right, and with the building gone, the fire truck can make the turn.
How can we tear that building down until we have a new administration building?
We're gonna have to move into a temporary location until you have some.
And the fire truck can come down a little the other way. Like, I'm all for safety, but quite honestly, because of the orientation of that neighborhood, people drive slow. It's a lot safer than driving in most neighborhoods. Tighter and more congestion usually leads to people driving slower. I would hate for that to have to be, it doesn't have to be, quite honestly.
I
It
think
doesn't have to be. But I guess we can move on, but, I don't know when a fire truck, if they knew they couldn't make that turn, would come from the other direction.
I've never seen one.
In our
down hill,
village.
but then I don't
Yeah,
live there,
yeah.
so.
I mean, we can't make.
I think we probably need this to go to Parks and get processed. I mean, I was the one dissenting voice that said we should preserve that building. I think one of the things I brought up was
It's worse.
induced demand there, because if you make a really great intersection, you're just gonna have more traffic through there. And I think it's unfortunate in that neighborhood where we do have some character, we're gonna lose a lot of it by doing that. But I think that we need to let Parks do what it's gonna do, review this,
Yeah.
and then it'll come back to us, because I guess,
But it
I
seems
didn't
like
think
this
we were
got
gonna have
pretty
a,
far.
while I was opposed to it, I didn't think we were gonna have a set.
I'm not sure it's
Decision.
gone too far, that's why I was asking the question about whether, when we see this, if we were to say, you know, and understanding your feeling about it, because I don't, you know, I honestly don't, I don't have a feeling either way, but if we were to say, look, what could we do that would preserve safety and keep the building? You know, is there something that could be done? Is there another way to look at it? That's all. So I don't know what that means, and of course that means a different plan, and so I guess we really have to see what's.
Right, I think you have to see it, you know, after the last Parks Committee meeting, I gave her the decision that came out of Parks, and so she designed it based on that. You know, and you gotta keep in mind, an engineer, they're gonna be designing it according to engineering standards and law. You know, so if, for example, if something has to be ADA compliant, that's the way it's gonna be designed. But that's something I think Parks can discuss when they look at that plan. She has to finalize it and get it in a format that the committee can look at.
And that, what, do you think that will be done for parks in September?
Yeah, she's
I
gonna
mean,
try and
obviously,
have it,
the letter, the meeting is planned, so it will be there for September.
right, she said she would have it done by the end of August, so that it could go to the Parks meeting for
When is
September
September?
8th.
What's that?
September 8th, September 1st normally would be, but that's Labor Day, so it's moved out a week. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Question, what's that property worth on the tax basis?
Because it's a municipal property, we don't have an assessment on it. We can make an estimate on it,
But it's a sale.
yeah, one of the things I proposed is we take that, we sell that building, we take the money from that, put it towards the village hall. I think that'd be a better use of that than.
Just
preserve the
curious
building.
what kind of dollars we're talking about. That's why.
Well, the property next to it's on for 3.9.
What'd you pay for it?
Does that help?
Multiply it by inflation over the last 20 years.
We would have to have it appraised. I would think we'd want to have it appraised if we were gonna sell that property.
I'm just curious.
So when this came up for the post office, we actually decided to have an appraiser come in there and do that. So we actually had a number, so we knew
Okay.
this is what we're expending. And I think that would be a really good idea before we surrender that property to the intersection.
And a very not unsafe one, as somebody that lives there all the time, I've never seen any accident there that you guys have, but, like I said, everybody drives slow back there.
Yeah, because
It's really hard to,
when you straighten roads out, you actually get people to go faster. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
lose, you lose
exactly.
the chunk.
Exactly.
Anyway, we could go on for this for a long time.
no,
We'll
we'll
pass
do it the
this.
wrong way.
Okay.
Right, any questions on staff reports?
Do we have an idea on when, or Eric, maybe you know when you're gonna move into the new Parks building? Eric, if you're still there?
So the Parks Committee, or I'm sorry, it was the Finance Committee that wanted the open house
Yeah.
before he moved in. So he can't move in until after we have the open house.
So do we know when that is?
We also have to wait for the internet to get turned on too, Louise.
Right. So the open house, I sent an email out, to Alliance, McMahon, some others asking which dates would work best. So we're waiting to schedule on a date. But I think the dates were September 3rd, 10th, and 11th tentatively. The committee had wanted 3 to 5, I think it was, so that's when it would be, but it's not determined yet.
Okay.
Okay, on to committee reports. We're just gonna do questions again. Finance Committee. Okay, Fire Board.
The chief,
So that was, he was, that came back to the Fire Board
yeah,
actually.
Mike Goldstone was appointed by the board at the last meeting.
Okay.
And as far as anything else, I mean, the new fire engine's still on the way, and I think in October, they're planning on having it delivered.
Was he appointed new chief or interim?
I'm sorry,
Was he appointed new chief or
Chief.
interim?
chief.
So the fire guys have voted him as new chief.
That is true, and they want to keep
got
it in the fire
Okay,
department
sure.
rather than going to the outside.
And that's, I was just, didn't know, I read the minutes and I wasn't sure, okay.
I believe he said something in there in the minutes about not thinking that we needed a full-time chief.
He did, yeah.
Correct.
Rentier has not met. Historical Society. You said we've got minutes coming.
You said
Minutes will
Marina
be
Committee
here
has not
next
met?
meeting.
Green tier.
Green
Oh,
tier,
green
not
tier.
it. Okay, lighting has not met. Housing. Minutes in there from that.
The minutes are not in there.
Okay.
We just had them last week, I think it was.
Library Commission.
Those minutes are in there.
I would just say notes in the pack, but if anybody has any questions, there was questions on Rick having that position as a custodial person or as a person that's a repair person, but it's been okayed by the group. And I think the guy's doing a fantastic job.
Okay. There's like a $6,000 or $5,700 expenditure for the doors on that.
Correct, and that's gonna be through Tri-City. It hasn't been done yet.
In the past, there have been expenses of library committee that weren't budgeted. Is that a budgeted expense, and is that something that we're expecting?
I don't recall seeing that in the budget, but it could be, I don't know when they, I don't know how they're funding it. Or maybe how they're taking, maybe it was some other budget item that they're not using.
I'd have
or
to
using
check
the funds
further
for
on that,
that.
but I think it's covered.
I just want to make sure we don't have a surprise, because we had one in the past, it was nobody's
Right.
fault, it was just
Yeah.
sometimes. Things like that happen, okay? Marina Committee.
I have a comment. On page 37, or on line 37, excuse me, it says the Finance Committee has approved the proposed financing of the boathouse's yearly rent by freezing the marina's annual payment in lieu of taxes. I don't know if I lost my mind at that meeting, or I didn't have the document in front of me. I did not realize and don't remember at all that this is a 30-year lease. I am not in favor of that any longer if this is a 30-year lease.
So I can address that. It was a 10-year, and then at the last meeting, or I'm sorry, it was written as a 10-year lease. And then, second to the last Marina Committee meeting, the Marina Committee requested it be a 30-year lease. So did the Historic Society, because they said, if we're gonna invest all this money in here, we wanna make sure you can't just turn around and then we're stuck without a building after we've invested $300,000 in it. So the committee revised it to 30 years and that 30-year lease, and then they approved that at their last meeting last week.
Okay. I'm not in favor of that. I don't know how anybody else feels for 30 years with inflation. Absolutely not.
Since the Historic Society wanted to look at the agreements again, what we could do is go back to the committee, because I don't think that was something that was, I understand your concern.
Okay.
So
It
I
wasn't
think
brought up. It
it
wasn't.
was not brought up.
Okay.
It was you're not losing your mind. It was a
Okay.
10-year contract when we had talked about it earlier. And perhaps the committee needs to discuss is that for 10 years, maybe there's some gradual increase. I don't know, but we'd have to discuss it both at Marina and at Finance.
Well, I would suggest that Marina talks about that again, and most years, I won't say every year, personnel determines a COLA for our employees. And I think we very easily could consider something of that nature that we can tie a number to for conversation.
I thought we originally had a 20-year lease with a 10-year possible addition or 10-year renewal. And one of the reasons using the pilot made sense is because we're also giving up a piece of property, the marina is, and no one's ever appraised it. And so you're really giving up that value also. So that would, if you took that building off, it would technically lower the taxes. You know what I mean? Like you're
Right, and that was a
value.
suggestion of mine, that we determine a value, whether we pay a professional to do that or could figure it out ourselves. I don't know if we could do that.
So why don't we
and-
have somebody come in and appraise what the village buildings are worth? We're talking about the Marina Waterfront Museum. We're talking about the current admin building. We're talking about whatever the other building was we were going to have appraised. I mean, is it worth it to just have somebody come and do it all at once?
The post office has to be by
Oh.
a certain company, approved by the federal government.
What was your thought on that, that the village buys it from the marina? Is that? where
No,
you're
my
gonna finish?
original thought was if we, I had talked about in our insurance numbers, and I think Vlad did pull out some insurance numbers for us. Did we talk about that at finance or someplace else, Vlad?
Got brought up at finance.
At finance, okay.
You already ran with that.
So for insurance purposes, which is not an assessed value,
Yeah.
obviously, he had determined, kind of what the marina is, its structure, and the boathouse, what we're insuring it for, whatever, it's probably worth more than what we're insuring it for. And if we took off the value of the boathouse because the marina is paying a pilot on the entire thing, and if we remove that, what would that reduce the value of the marina property to, and what in turn then would the pilot be if we remove that? So that was my line of thinking, because it's actually based on something and it's actually removing it out of the marina. I went along with freezing it at 50,000. It's not mathematically based on anything except our whim, the $50,000.
No,
So I would like it tied to
Yeah.
something that means something.
and that's fair. I think that the thought is just the opportunity cost that's lost. And if the marina wanted to put a little money into that, make it really nice, they can make $100,000 a year off that thing, right? So it was kind of a way like the marina's made to pay for itself. This is an underutilized asset.
Right.
So we thought it was pretty equitable.
So I
on how
thought,
we felt about it.
maybe there's a fair way.
Yeah.
That makes sense mathematically. That's
Yeah,
based
yeah, I
on
mean-
something.
Inflation
That's-
would be a fair,
Pardon?
inflation would be.
But you're saying the actual $50,000, to have that come out of something, instead of having, you say $50,000 type of formula, that we create that.
Well,
Correct, or are you saying just over time, the increase?
the 50,000 was based on the bill that's being paid. So that was, when you looked across the board, it was right around 50,000. So it made sense. I mean, we can go back and look at how much did it, and, if you look at.
We don't have to debate it here. I'm just saying, I'm not in favor of it for 30 years. If Marina can talk about it, you know how I feel. I'm willing to do something that's fair and equitable to all parties involved.
What do you mean you are? What, you as in finance?
As a vote,
Okay,
to vote
okay.
for this.
Okay.
We'll bring it back to Marina Committee.
So I don't want to waste anybody else's time. That's,
Parks, properties and streets.
oh, no, I still had something, sorry, on page 7 about the parking lot update. Oh my God, what a nightmare. I just wanted, I don't know if Dave is still on, but we have Marina Committee members here. If you enter the Marina parking lot from Sunset, the right way, the way the arrows show, and you go to Scandia, and there's the tree line for the property to the neighbors. And I think they're car ones over there that say permit required or something.
Yeah.
And then the last one closest to Scandia, it's like half grass, half pavement because it's not a real parking lot. People are parking on the lawn there all the time. Just an FYI for you guys.
So should we buy
Because it-
$500?
No, because it
$272
doesn't,
in court fees?
because it doesn't say there's, permit required, because it's not actually a parking space.
So you'd have to remove the stripe maybe.
Now I got a place to park when I gotta go that way.
There you
So
go.
let me know.
So I just wanted to bring it to your attention because I'm right there. I see it every single day.
Okay, we'll bring it up for sure.
That's all. Thank you.
Parks, properties, streets. No questions? Okay. Personnel has not met, is meeting this week.
Thursday.
Plan Commission,
Meets next week.
Utilities. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, the Ava Hope project, I was kind of reading through this earlier. Is that like an in-process thing? You've got somebody bidding out what they would do for a low-income housing?
It's not necessarily low-income housing. Julie, do you want to address that?
Sure, the village owns property, a large piece of property at the corner of Ava Hope and Northwoods. And it just sits vacant. We have a housing need, so it really
And a parks need.
Right, community park need. We have, I'll get to that, but so we did a proposal, we did a request for proposals, seeking bids for people to come in and build housing there. And the person that we're looking at would build, it's 3 apartment buildings. I think it's a total of 21 or 27 units off the top of my head. But it also, and then a certain percentage of them have to be marketed towards those earning 80% of the county median income, which means like 3 of the units would be, approximately 3 of the units would have to be rent restricted that way. And then like Denise was saying, there's a park there. So that community about 2 years ago submitted a petition. I think it had maybe 70 signatures on it, where they wanted a community park in that area. And so, and we had a developer give money towards a park in that area. So what the project is this person would develop the property with multifamily housing and develop a park, but give the rights to the village for public use on that park. So it went through Plan Commission to approve, so that went out, got the responses back. Then it went to Plan Commission. They tentatively approved the number of units, tentative design. It went to housing to look at the numbers and the affordability index on it. They had some recommendations. Now it goes to parks for their input on the park. And then we can do a letter of intent with this person saying, you know, you're gonna have to go through site plan review, architectural review, development agreement, but assuming that everything goes good, we want you to know it is our intent to give you this land in exchange for building this development. So we're about halfway through not even halfway through the process, I would say, Bridget.
Okay, and then with the Devilly project on the other side of 57, do we know how many units? I mean, is that still in the works of approval?
Still in the works, and it's around 60.
Yeah, okay.
The plans have changed a little bit, but it stays around 60.
You said 68 today, but I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, and they're to the stage now, they're working with the developer. They are looking, and we're talking about creative ways that maybe we could help with infrastructure. You know, our TID doesn't have the money, we don't have resources to help with that, but looking at some creative ways, maybe we could partner on that to help bring those costs down even further for him. But if not, it's completely a project that Mr. Devilly is doing with his developer at this point.
And that's just regular housing, or is that low-income housing?
It's workforce housing, so it's a mix of some duplexes. I think there's some 3plexes in there, and some smaller units, more, I don't want to say tiny homes, but more on the smaller side
But
like that.
it's market
to
rate.
keep
Yeah,
them-
it's market rate.
It's
So
a market rate.
Market
It's
rate.
not,
It's not
Yeah, there's no,
it's a market rate.
Yeah, they'll start at 350, $500,000.
Or whatever, I mean.
so that's a
it's
private
development.
landowner deciding to do that at this
Yeah.
point.
Right, he defines them as workforce housing.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Utilities?
Any questions?
SBA?
We meet again next week, but we're in the middle of our membership drive as well as the Full Force on Marina Fest and Fall Fest. So working on some safety features and getting all that going. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot more conversations about safety at Fall Fest this year, at least that I've been a part of, and I think that from what I understand with you is that's.
That's really top of mind, so we're really hoping to get some some new things implemented and just make sure that everybody involved is safe.
Tourism zone?
The annual meeting, not annual, full meeting is tomorrow, no, Thursday. At which time we'll see the budget, first pass on the budget, and also listen to, there's a finance committee made up of DCTC members and DDC board members, which they've never done before. So that meets after the full board meeting. So we'll see what that looks like as well. So this is the first pass at the 2026 budget. For DDC, sorry.
For DDC's budget, not
DDC, yeah, DDC is presenting their 2026 budget to DCTZ.
Okay.
Who gives them the money.
Okay, a motion to accept the reports would be in order.
Can I
Yeah.
ask, I'd like to ask something. So you're going, when you're doing committee reports, you're going through the alphabetical list, but it's not necessarily the way it is in our packet. So I'm trying to keep up as you, and they're in here different, looking for my notes. Can you follow the way that they're in the packet?
We can try and, I mean,
You just have to read from your
yeah,
laptop.
we can do that.
Just don't
Okay,
read from
because
the
I'm
list at the
trying
bottom.
to-
We'll talk and we'll get a match.
Okay.
We'll get a match.
Thank you.
No, this has been like this forever, so it's like,
No,
or for a long time.
I
You
don't,
just have to read it from the screen.
yeah, I'm going from
You're going from the agenda.
the
instead of
list,
the
because I
screen.
keep
Right.
track of the ones we go through on there, so.
Thank you.
Okay, I make the motion, we accept the reports, motion by Bell, second by Harf, all those in favor?
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, matters to be placed on a future agenda referred to committee, official or employee.
We don't have, just one thing to mention is, I think next month, if not before then, we're gonna have to start talking about our public hearing date for the budget. So finance meets next Monday. We need to start finalizing that and picking a date target to get the notice in the paper. So, we'll for sure next month have to pick that public hearing date.
And usually there's a handful of days we have, because we have to be contingent on it having multiple hearings. Sometimes it works out that we don't. If I remember right, I think there
we've
was,
had 2 hearings since I've been here. Last year, we tried to have 2, and the calendar got the best of us, so we only had 1. So if we can try to have 2, that would be great.
Yeah, last year we put 2 on the calendar, and then I think what happened was that first meeting, we didn't get that many questions. It wasn't, so I think the board had decided at that time not to have a second one.
I don't
But-
remember that happening. I just thought that, anyway,
Yeah.
but if we could have 2, that would be great.
so wait,
I don't think we're gonna need to.
I don't know.
You could break it out, do it where it's the budget at
Yep.
one and maybe CIP at another.
okay, so we'll pick dates next month for the Octobers. Okay, something I would like us to look at is, as the parts building is being completed, I think it'd be a good idea to do a postmortem on it, to say, okay, this is what we did with our budget, this is the timeline it took, and just say, okay, this is what we tried to do, this is what we accomplished, so we can think about that moving forward on any future projects. And maybe that's not a next month thing, maybe there, I mean, I know there's very limited staff resources, but before we start another big project, I do think we should do that.
Can you explain further the purpose being?
How much it really cost?
So what does it cost? What is the timeline? How did we do compared to what we thought we were gonna do? I mean,
We just
to
made
to
payment
see,
number 10,
yeah,
so we
to
know what the payments are, right? So, but how much, what have we paid so far? What do we still have to pay? What's outstanding?
and how is the breakdown? Like, where do we spend money? Where was it more expensive? Where was it not?
Well, once the building is all done, we plan on doing that because we have to see where we're at on the budget.
Right.
You know, we know what was budgeted and where is it actually gonna come in at. We need, and we know, you know, what caused it to, what were the unexpected expenses that we have to go through, and we know we have to report that to Parks Committee. You know, for example, building in winter, that costs us a lot more money. Some of those things that were out of our control.
Well, like the lift, that was $3,600 that we didn't count on. Or change order, yeah.
Yeah, and there were a lot of
Change orders are really pricey.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just something that, and we don't bake, typically, I don't know if we bake that into the plan or not.
We usually there's a contingency at 5% usually on construction.
I can't remember what it was on this one. It was pretty high. There was.
Was it a
quite-
10% on this one? Because I just remember past things we've done, there's been a 5% contingency.
Yeah, I think it was a little more.
So it was
than
4.1 million, right?
The overall budget, was- yeah, I think it was 4.1.
So let's see where we came in. One thing that's interesting, and I have to touch base with somebody in Sturgeon Bay, but I think it was 3 or 4 months ago that they put a process in place. And so that when they, from now on, when they start capital projects, they're gonna budget for operations for the building. So they'll budget for what they think it's gonna cost to heat it, cool it, not initial landscaping, snow removal, taking care of the grass, not people that work there, none of that, but all the things that, and we don't do that. So so in the process of figuring out how much the new parks building is gonna cost us to operate versus the old one, which will probably be twice as expensive, I think, I don't know. But nonetheless, but they do that, and I did speak to somebody in Sturgeon Bay about that, I'm gonna forget his name, and he was really helpful, very helpful, in how they came up with determining that, and it's not unusual. It's a best practice for a lot of places, so it's something we should consider.
So that they work it into their budget, because they're not borrowing money to do it per operate, right?
No, but,
Okay, so
but
it's just.
it's part of the budget.
It's total
because-
impact.
Because
Okay.
at some point, pretty soon, we're gonna be paying for the parks building. So what's it gonna cost for internet, heating, cooling, snow removal, mowing the grass, what it
Right.
costs to.
Right,
for all
and
of us
Vlad
to
and I
maintain
talked
our home,
about that
whatever.
yesterday in the
So,
budget.
yeah, so, I know this, I can't remember his name right now, you probably don't.
So something that actually helps you start to look at differently, is looking at the total cost of ownership is some of the building expenses might be higher in the front end, but over the life of the building, over a 20-year span. So it can make you look at projects a little bit differently because, okay, we put in twice as much insulation, it's gonna increase our cost up front, but we're gonna get that back over the life of the building. So that can be helpful to
Right.
help us with our perspective.
Do me a favor, Nate, when you talk about any building that the village builds, please don't use a 20-year lifespan. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about 40, 50 years here.
I have a
think.
100-year-old home, so
So, but, so this is a 50-year lifespan for this fire station here.
Well, it's like
We'll-
anyone,
we'll go
when
with
you do
that.
your- when you do your home budget, anybody that
I
owns a
like
home,
it.
you know
Thank
what
you.
it costs to operate it.
There was
And
some
you know what's going
discussions.
up. So you budget that, you know what it's gonna be, and, okay, this is
Yeah,
what it's gonna be, I gotta save for that, because that's how I'm gonna, otherwise, before I get out of bed in the morning, I gotta turn on the lights, I gotta heat it, it's pretty much the same premise.
There were some discussions on that very early on with the administration building, because there was talk about, to use like a wind turbine. This is when we were looking at the Lagerquist property, wind turbine, and we researched the ones that looked like actually farm turbines. And then
Like a
that would,
windmill.
that would reduce the energy cost. And we knew it would be a little more upfront, but we knew in the long run, it was gonna save money. We actually talked about that with the Parks one too.
Did we do a study to see if there's enough wind there to just that'll work? Because that's how that stuff's done. It's not done by, we think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm all for renewables, but you can't just put them wherever you want and get the same return.
Right, so we.
And how high would you have to go? And that's where, so you talk to scientists about this or?
No,
It
we
was
just
the
talked about
committee,
it.
and they looked at the wind speed maps and the data from the wind companies on the area. And same thing with solar, with the Parks building, there was a lot that was solar, but it was, I think, the community center maybe where we were talking solar, but that area wasn't good for the solar. So we were consulting the maps, the engineering maps that are available online. But anyways, it didn't go further at the point, at that point,
Yeah.
because, we're not to that point on the admin building right now, but with the Parks building, the decision was making the building more efficient, but not putting in the renewable energy.
Sure.
No, the next one, of course, is the admin building.
Well, Bailey's Harbor just put geothermal in their village hall, in their town hall. They dug, drilled in front on, like Green Patch right on 57 and put geothermal in.
And they didn't have to blast?
Uh-uh.
Oh, you drove through it?
No, he
Maybe
was
you
right,
drove-
the guy was drilling, and he was right in front of the post office for 2 days, maybe. That's it.
It's more or less a well.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's trippy how geothermal works. It was a big deal up here 15, 20 years ago. I remember many people doing it anymore.
Well, it's not being funded at the moment,
Oh,
but one of these days it'll get refunded.
I had it in.
So
My
they
niece
just
is in the
drilled
business.
right through the rock.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
so how do you think a well gets down there?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a lot of us.
Well,
used to
maybe
have
I
wells.
just, maybe my knowledge is not vast on geothermal.
Well,
And
it's,
geothermal
maybe
smaller
it's
holes.
minuscule.
It's all
well,
smaller
but
holes.
it's pretty, my niece is in the industry. And unfortunately, they sort of got cut off at the knees because they need funding. But, yeah, it's kind of interesting. And you're right, it's very small. It's very, not a lot of people have adopted it, but anyway.
So at some point in the near future, it would be good to do that, especially before we have any big projects coming up. The other thing I think we should do is I think we should refer to personnel, looking at options for I don't want to say an interim, but like a temporary outside assist / mentor for clerks. We know there's some options out there.
Julie and I talked about it. It's on the agenda.
Okay, I think that we should direct.
It's on the agenda to at least look. Yeah, okay.
All right, that's all I have. Okay, 12A, executive session. Adjourn to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19851G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or legal advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved in all cases. And 12B, remain in closed session for this Wisconsin statute 1985C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Discussion of village administrator compensation package of benefits. Motion by Bell,
Second.
second by Bertle, roll call vote. Bell, yes.
Berto, yes?
Houston, yes.
Mark, yes?
Shampoo, yes.
Graco, yes.
Okay, we're on closed
Wait, yeah.
session. We're gonna take a few moments and
My partner wasn't.
we're gonna part ways
For
with
the
you
record.
tonight, Bridget. So-
After they got sold
everybody.
last week, I told them they reminded me of the old guys in the balcony. of the
Oh, you
Muppets.
and Burris?
You and Marissa, and I texted it to him, and I said I met him with